Hello, good evening. Thank you for joining us. I wrote on my paper, nice to see that so many are interested in this topic. It was supposed to be sold out, so a lot of people are still in traffic, as we are a car SUV country. You spend a lot of time in your car, so I hope they still have time to join us. Welcome also to all those who join us online by video conference. We started this urban art project back in 2014, and it was not a big thing. It was simply, the idea was simply to put some graffitis outside in our courtyard and to end the project. So we had really the intention to make our courtyard a little bit more beautiful, but 7 years later, we realized more than 80 murals and art installations in about 4 countries. So in Luxembourg, in France, in Belgium, and in Germany also. The most was realized in Esch-sur-Alzette, in our city here, and it's also the result between an excellent collaboration between the youth service in Esch and the Kulturfabrik. And this is a special thanks to Georges Kass, which is also here tonight, which is the responsible person of the youth service. We always believed in this city, and we always had the intention to artistically contribute to the development of this city. Tonight we have the possibility to learn how to integrate art in an urban landscape. So we see a little bit of the methodology. We're going to see some examples, but Fred is going to give you some more information very soon. I would like to thank Giacomo. He's behind the scene, or is here behind the scene? Would like to thank Giacomo and Sensity because they organized for us the whole conference, setting up the conference. Thanks also to the speakers, to Liesbeth, to Julie, Jan, and Karzi. Also an information, you can find a lot more information about this project on the www.kufasurbanaresch.lu. Thank you for being here, and thank you very much for supporting us all over the whole year. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Would like to thank you for being here tonight with us. We're really glad to have all of you here at Kufa, and those of us also who are watching us online. So we are doing this project since 2014, and so far we have done mostly murals all over the city. And as I said, we did it almost 80 in 4 different countries. So in terms of the interventions in the public space, as I said, we did a lot of mural interventions. But for this year's edition, we have tried to do something else. We have tried to do something more meaningful for and with the citizens of Esch. We would like to go beyond the aesthetics impact of the artistic works. And that's, we would like to go more towards the population, get them more involved in the process. That's why we invited this year's urban artists, but also designers and architects to work with the citizens of Esch to try to transform the city and develop the concept of functional art. Can we really have an impact in the city, change the city's image, improving quality of life of the citizens through art in a participatory approach? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. And to talk about this, I would like to invite to the stage our moderator for tonight, the guy who is going to lead all these good talks. So please, Giacomo Piovan, social designer from Sensity. So thank you all, enjoy the talks, and see you later in the bar.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, René. I would like to start with a little thank you for the introduction. Thank you for everybody to be here. Today, this conference, Participatory Art Design Behind Aesthetics. We have different experts from different disciplines coming here to Esch to discuss about their projects. We have they will bring some inspiration from the daily practice as designers and artists and researchers. There will be some case studies that we will show. Of course, this will be more a conversation than a presentation, so that's also a bit a kind of the format. We want to create a debate to discuss this topic. As you can imagine, this topic is very broad, and because of that, we frame this conversation in 4 different topics. So we will go from large-scale areas, for example, with what concerns city planning, to more public space, art installation, and finally, smaller scale disciplines like product and service design. So, I would like to welcome the speakers to the stage. We have this nice setup. It has been since a long time. We actually have a live event, and we're glad we can take off the mask here. Unfortunately, in the COVID check event, the public needs to keep the mask. But we have here. We start with a little bit to present the speakers, and I will start actually with me. I'm Iacomo Piovan, the moderator of today, and I would like to present Liesbeth Huybrechts. We have here next to me associate professor in the area of participatory design, design anthropology, and spatial transformation processes in the research group of ARC, University of Hasselt in Belgium. She has developed a research interest in city and region making, which she explores in several research and educational projects. She edited the book, Participation is Risky, Approaches to Joint Creative Processes. Next to Liesbeth, we have Jan Glas, who has more than 25 years experience in innovation through design management and strategy, consultant and designer for private sector and teacher at the Lycée des Arts et Métiers in Luxembourg City. He developed a focus on co-creation methods to improve the quality of solutions for companies, for institutions, and societal issues as well. Jan is also the founder of the Luxembourg Creative Industry Cluster. Then we have welcome to Julie Conrad, product designer, graduated in art design at Créapol Paris, creative director Julie Conrad Design Studio, specialized in furniture, accessories, and space design and graphic design. She gained experience on several collaborations with companies and design studios across the world, Paris, Philadelphia, New Zealand, until she set up her studios in Luxembourg in 2013. Interested in the correlation between craftsmanship and industrial production, with a focus on sustainable design solution. Thank you also to be here, Jose Carsi. He's an architect and graphic designer, passionate in editorial design. He conceives books for cultural associations since 2012. 2 years later, he starts collaborating together with the collective of Miguel Arias, helping them to create and build urban intervention at the Fallas Festival in Valencia and the Burning Man in the United States. Architect in Paris, he moved to Luxembourg in 2016 to become one of the art directors of the publishing house Maison Moderne. So, I would like to start this debate with a question. Of course, we have different. This topic is very broad, and we'd like to ask which actually is your definition, in few words, of participatory art and design. Someone want to start?
Yeah, maybe I can start. Yeah, there are many definitions of participatory design and art. But maybe, yeah, roughly, it's that kind of connection that you want to create between institutions, professionals, but also the rich diversity of everyday life, I guess, which can be quite challenging. I think a lot of you experience that in everyday life. Yeah, maybe you could say that there are two basic models, more institution-driven versus more care-driven, more relational-driven, more starting from everyday life. And none of these models are wrong, they all have each have their rights. And I think a lot of times we, as artists, designers, organizations, we start from an institution-driven model. We have a project and we ask for a kind of engagement in this project, which is fine because you have to do that in one way or another. But the risk is that you only get the attention of those who really care about the project, who love it, and those who really hate it. And you get a kind of polarized debates on certain subjects. Imagine you want to do something around the sustainable transition of this environment, making it more green. You will have the ones who love green and the ones who are who fear to lose their parking space. And therefore you need also the other, the more care-based, the more relational-based, that starts really from the relations that people already develop to these subjects, to this complex subject of sustainability. There is maybe that woman that will never come to your workshop, but really goes to the park every day to walk her dog, for instance. And I think participation is a lot, but these two models, they live next to each other and complementary, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you. Jan?
Yeah, I like the definition. Maybe you can also say like when you are like the lady in the park with the dog that goes out, doesn't participate, but she does participate. She is part of the realm of the space. So as a designer, you have to also take that into consideration. It's participatory design is not only people that participate directly, but also indirectly, passively. And that's my contribution.
So I would actually also build on that. What I really like is this, what you said, Liesbeth, about diversity. So it's really about, I would say, having the eyes wide open and seeing as much as you can as a designer or artist, or the one who will then afterwards put it into something more tangible. So as you said, you need to look also at those that are not directly participating. So it's really about getting, I don't know, pooling resources, I would say.
So Liesbeth said something interesting is about haters and lovers. The experience with participatory projects is that the moment you get the haters into the process and they participate in there, even if they are not used to the aesthetics or the result, they are involved and they are finally understanding what are they doing, and they are proud. And that's the goal of the participatory projects, to pick those kind of people and finally do something that is good for everybody, even for the people that were not happy with this kind of projects.
Yeah.
So for making a good project is attracting the haters.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for your definitions. It was really interesting. So basically, sometimes these definitions are a bit different, but to resume, somehow what for a participatory project, which is art or design. Now we don't go too much into the rhetoric of framing something a discipline too much, but I think if I see a common point that to start a participatory project, you need to have participants, and for them also they're very different participants, very different needs, different wishes, different dreams. We would like to go through one examples to get more focused on a case study, and start with Nord-Süd-Limburg project from Liesbeth. I'll let you the floor.
Yeah, I will explain this one project because it has been the most difficult and long participatory project I've been working on in my life, actually. So it's a project I've been working on for 3 years now, and it spans from, it's a road redesign project, so it's a highly polluted, a highly dangerous road full of cars. That connects Belgium to the Netherlands, Hasselt to Eindhoven. And yeah, since the 70s, they are trying to redesign this road. And for 30 years, they did this without participation. So they had these different design scenarios. They put this in front of people. And the reaction were protests. One time by neighborhood groups, another time by climate activists, and so on. So actually the project failed over and over. And then 3 years ago, they restarted. Politicians had the courage to restart the project, even after violent protests. And we were involved to guide the participatory process. And maybe to come back to the definition I gave, so here again, there is this more institutional or professional-driven participatory process. There's more than 5 design and study agencies working on this project from different disciplines, and they have to present their work in one way or another to how many thousands of people living around that road and people concerned with it. And so workshops are organized every month to get representatives of neighborhood organization, climate organization, and experts and so on. These workshops work well for many people because people have very nice ideas. We have to have less cars, so we have to have better public transport. We need more room for bikes. We need more room for animals, for plants, so sustainable transition. But then you have a very big group of people we never see because this idea of a sustainable transition is really weird for them because actually in this environment it was never possible to bike because it was suicide. And you're asking me now to come and communicate about or participate in a project on bikes. I don't know how to bike, I don't have a bike. Or green, this road has cut off my neighborhood from the world and it's become a ghetto. It's also a post-industrial context like this, so a lot of unemployment, very multicultural environment. And so green is associated with litter, with drug abuse, so no positive associations. So actually there you need, complementary to the necessary institution-driven participation process, this more care-based relational process. So what we did, we put one full-time person who is totally continuously present in this context, visiting neighborhoods, observing what kind of relations people have to this particular topic. And to give one small example, one relation we really discovered, and that's the first capability, I think, when you want to organize a participatory process in a more care-based way, is to see detect relations and visualize them as a designer, artist, so for people to see it and to observe it. So you see here a lot of maps, so we draw all the time, we tell the story of this context by drawing and prototyping. And one relation was, so people really don't like bikes because they don't know how, but they are concerned about their children and how that they learn to bike, because they're concerned about their future. Yeah.
For this, I want to switch to this picture. Can you tell a little bit what is happening here? Is this can we call it a workshop? Is it, or is this it was more like the effect of the workshop?
Yeah, so what we did was indeed we biked around with this tandem thing, and actually, one thing was that we discovered this concern for biking, and so once we detected this relation, we started imagining this relation together with the parents, with the schools in the environments, with social organizations. What can we do with this potential? And the idea was from the community to organize a bicycle library where children can borrow bikes very cheaply, and a bicycle park where they can learn to bike. And so after imagining that, we started to really implementing it. And that is also really materializing it. So through a live building project, actually, we started prototyping this environment, and the idea became concrete. And I think that was the big step in the project, is that actually this became a new collective that previously was totally absent from all workshops, but then became a strong collective in society that became a partner in this whole sustainable transition process. And like this, we created a lot of these kind of collectives, but based on their project, they participate in our project instead of the reverse. And that was key, I think, in this image and project. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So we see. So basically, on this project, we see a bottom-up approach rather than an institutional need of placing something that maybe citizen doesn't want, right? And we also see how early in the stage you actually involved this research, this observation through the city, through the street, and to understand the needs of the people living there. So, if someone in the other speakers has something to relate with this kind of approach of involving research and understanding the needs of the people or the citizens in this kind of example. Jan, Julie?
I see it really as offering what you did. You offered a platform and tried things out, and the bike project came out of the initiative of the participants. They really liked it and they wanted to continue with that. And that is something that's very important in those processes, and that is what the city here in Esch is doing as well, I think, is testing, throwing out. They do it already since years, and they want to develop, and that's why I think it's also one of the reasons why we are here tonight, is to see how can this further be developed. And I think this is a great example how, and that also needs to, you need the support of the politicians, of the decision makers that give you the liberty, the freedom to let it go. Do something where you don't know what's going out, the outcome will be. And that is something, the prototyping, the testing, that is something what in my experience in Luxembourg is not so well known, because in Luxembourg, if you do something wrong, you're really off. And we need to be open to errors and go on with that and learn from that. And that is happening here, and it's a good example. And then it's really nicely presented, and the designers come with it. And maybe Julie,
you want to say something?
Yeah, exactly. What you were saying, I was actually thinking the same thing. What is often happening in participatory design is that you have to let go of this solution-driven thing. So of course, usually you get to the solution, you want it in a different way, and it will also look differently, but usually you don't just lose it, but you have to open up. And then actually, oftentimes you see that the actual problem was something you were not even thinking about. And I think this is a great example of this, because nobody thought that actually people would be scared or didn't know how to bike or were not used to biking. They were just thinking, okay, it's too dangerous, so they're not doing it. But actually it's about something else. And when people then get the chance to bike more, they will also start biking more. And then this will actually also shape this place already. So I think it's a great example.
This is what you're actually describing, and what you actually could see here is this kind of iterative process of always trying to start, build something with the communities, with the groups, with the different social groups, and then go to the next phase. Is this something, Julie, that you have been also experienced with that, with this kind of workshops?
Yes, totally. So what we see a lot in kind of participatory design projects is that it just starts with this kind of brainstorm with a lot of people. And then it's like, okay, so we've involved everyone, we've involved a lot of different people, they could say what's important to them, and now we will just let the designer, the architect, the artist do their work, which is a way of doing it, and it's great. I mean, it's already better than just when this person just stays in their corner and just tries to make it that way. So it's already a lot more information, but I think for it to be really successful, you have to have different steps. So it's always about opening up and then narrowing it down again, and then opening up and narrowing it down again, and it always becomes more concrete. So you definitely need a person like a designer, a facilitator, to do this and guide the process, and then you can bring in people with their opinions, with their wishes, with their ideas that might be really completely different. Yeah, so it's really like you said, it's different steps towards something of a solution.
Yeah. Karsi, do you have also some previous professional experience as an architect? Have you also been using this kind of methods, or like with other architects, or you maybe know some other architects who use these methods?
I think it's very common in urbanism projects, more than architecture. When you see this kind of projects, urban planning and redoing a neighborhood, this is when this kind of process takes place. So this is very common in urbanism. But one thing interesting that we were talking is how the process is kind of an iteration process. So you go, and you get finally to the solution. And one of the examples was the urban talks for the Kufa's Urban Art Festival, because I think we all the participants we came with some ideas because we knew the context. But with these urban talks, you realize that there was some key elements that you have to work to make them working and related to the population, to the citizens. So personally, when I came to the urban talks, it changed completely the approach of the project because of the problems of the citizens.
Yeah, for the public who maybe is not familiar with the urban talks, was actually a project also from Kufa, where different artists had the opportunity to meet citizens and local organizations in the public space in a very friendly format. It was like a yellow bus placed near to the side where the artifact or the design project would actually be planned. And could you, some of you, Julie and Karsi, you both been working with this project. We will also have some slides afterwards. Could you just to give to our public an idea of the first part of this iterative process? Like, where do we start? What do we ask to the participants? How does it work?
But the first is to ask for their needs, what they think that it's missing in the city or in the neighborhood, and what's not working, what they will wish to have in their streets. So because we came with an idea of, depending on the context, but when we met people, we realized that people were so proud of Esch, especially, well, I'm talking particularly on my project, and we realized that people needed a place to speak, to show that they were proud of Esch, and to show that Esch has a good image, not as the rest of the country or the other countries think about it. So this changed completely our approach and the image of the project.
What I think was what was great about how the Kufa approached this is that it was this bus you were talking about, and it was just parked in the street, and so people could come in, they could leave whenever they wanted, and it was not something where they had to sign up and then stay for 2 hours, and that might have scared them away, or it was very spontaneous, and that was great. So they actually came into the bus, and we were sitting there, and everybody mingled. And so that was great. There was just a lot of conversations, of course, also people just taking this opportunity to complain about things they didn't like, which is very valuable, of course, then.
I would like to go to the next case studies, as we discussed with now this kind of approach with the first workshops. Jan, in a previous conversation, you told me that you work on this project, the Arelstrasse, in Luxembourg City. One of your favorite phase was actually the first phase, where you actually analyze the needs, what is going well, what could be improved from a specific space. Could you please introduce to this project and tell us about your process?
Yeah, I call this phase always the garbage phase, where people can get their frustrations out, and they really should, and they emphasize on this, and also, but positive and negative, very important in every creative phase. This is almost, a lot of people I think know this. This is the Arelstrasse, next, very close to the Luxembourg city center. It's almost 10 hectares. It's the national stadium, football stadium. Josie Bartel is there. And there is a fire station, and there are habitat there. They will not touch on the private homes, but all the public houses and buildings will be torn apart. And now it's already in the third phase with the architects. But before that, and that's almost 3 years ago, the political party, the Gring von der Staat, they asked me to guide them doing this participatory process. We invited all the people around the surroundings, this space, and we had about 60 people coming in one evening. And we went through that garbage phase where they could mekkeren and a lot, and that helped them to get rid of those frustrations, because we wanted to know their ideas, their solutions, and their vision of this site. It's a quite classical approach we had, and it was a nice evening. There were some people that came, most of them elderly. They came and after 5 minutes left, because they thought they will get information. They didn't want to come to work. But in my experience, there are really not so many people doing that. But that's, of course, their choice.
Tell me about this situation. It sounds really interesting for the participant. But did you also had some other surprises during the process? Something that went wrong or that was somehow unexpected?
Well, unexpected in a sense. I think it had much more impact than we thought, this session. The outcome was an organization and that came out. It's called Staat, and they're still existing, and they're fighting for a more sustainable and more quality of life city, and also affordable living, which is a big problem, not only in the city of Luxembourg. But that came out, that was a surprise, which I think is really good. And what else? There were a lot of, there were some spies from the city, which is also normal, and that's politics. But that's only a compliment, because when they come, they take it serious. And the other thing that came out was we made a report, and they gave it the Gring, because they were in opposition, or yes, they were in opposition. They gave it to the city mayor, Mrs. Polver, and she went through the document. I heard, so I wasn't there. She went directly to the last page with the synthesis, with the conclusions, and said, yes, but we are doing all of this. And that is also a little bit the frustration part of these kind of things I have a little bit, is that more and more participatory processes like these, because this is quite on a reasonable scale. This is not really not the corner of two streets or a small place you want to develop, but this is really substantial. And then it becomes really political. And then now the city says, like, well, we did a participatory process because the Gring gave it to us and they use it. So and they don't really take it into consideration, which is a pity.
Thank you for, I'm sure you had also a lot of great and positive output out of this, but it's very interesting. We are here also to debate also about different, how this process could go and go wrong and go well. So thank you for this example. I would like to ask Liesbeth if, for example, connecting to what Jan just said, is participatory design or art can be instrumentalized somehow by different organizations. Somehow, like now, what happens for greenwashing in a way? We say yes, it's participatory, it's nice.
Yeah, it's systematically instrumentalized, of course. Every time a government or even an organization like this starts a participatory process, is instrumental for their goals, in principle, I guess. So even if a participatory process starts from this movement that came out of your process, they also use it in an instrumental way. The question only is how diverse is the group that is still, how political is the process still? And I don't mean political in the sense of instrumentalized, but how many voices are still represented in the process? And does everybody has the means to make use of participatory tools to have their voice heard and out? So this is for me key. And we have more and more actually, because our society, as we all know, because of neoliberalization, there are less stronger collectives that can voice particular concern, like housing quality and so on. So we need to really nurture collectives, citizen collectives, to have a voice in society, even the ones you never hear. And so a lot of our participatory processes lately, we support governments in doing so, we support private organizations, but more and more citizen collectives ask to develop tools for them to have a better voice in the whole debate. They notice if they just shout, nobody wants to hear them. But if they can make use of a kind of nice mapping technique and present their ideas, or a video technique, I don't know, to present their ideas in a more interesting way, people listen better. So in that sense, it is instrumental. It is like that. But it should nurture a good debate and a democratic debate. And that is the key, in my opinion. Yeah.
Thank you for, Jan?
Yeah, I come back to the Esch project because it's really art related, but I think it goes much further than that. And that joins you. It's an example how democracy can be strengthened. And that's why it's really a big chance to do this project, and hopefully it continues.
So, we saw that, on this kind of city planning, regional planning, anyhow, we need, there is some kind of new role, a new figure coming, arising, is a kind of this idea of a city manager or neighborhood manager who can actually take somehow more neutral position and observe by including all the different participants, also the voices which are not heard very often into the process. And as a result, for example, this citizen collective, we can actually call it a positive result that actually arises out of this project.
Yes, definitely. But what you say, the city manager or district managers, they are really key also, and they would strengthen a city if they play their role well.
Can you describe a little bit what should be the
Well,
role?
I see them as facilitators and not executors of the city. Yeah, that's a big difference. They should liberate, facilitate that people can say their word and do things and have chances to develop themselves. Yeah.
Maybe just a small note on that. We see a lot of difference between cities. So the ones who have strong neighborhood management work or even participation, eldermen, or yeah, it's much easier to enter the context. Like in the North-South, we spent a year only to get to know people because it's small municipalities all linked, so they cannot manage a lot of neighborhood managers on the ground. But cities who have that, we can really build on their networks, their relations, and so on. So their strength is not their neutrality, but their real, their affinity and their relational qualities. They know the neighborhood, they know the people, they know the downsides, the upsides. So it's this close relation to everyday life, which is the quality, I think. Yeah.
Could you make an identikit also for our public about which could be this kind of neighborhood manager? Which kind of skills should she or he has in order to work on this kind of project? Which kind of background or which kind of time does it need for having like a complete overview of a neighbors, for example?
The most important quality is duration of the time spent, that it extends beyond policy. Politics are always 4 years, and that they spend longer time in neighborhoods. So this opportunity to work in one neighborhood for years and years and years, you are a memory of a context. So that is for me great quality. Often it's our social workers, and I think it's the right background. We come in with a design background and we bring this aspect of imagination into this relational process. We are not social workers. Although on a policy level it can be good, it are designers, for instance. I have an old PhD student who now became the participation manager of a city. It's a perfect skill to also have the design skills to imagine a lot of the networks you detect and develop. But that's not necessary, in my opinion. Yeah.
Someone has something to add? Or we would like to go to the next topic then. So we going to the public space scale, and in order to reintroduce actually, because you already discussed about this before, is the Urban Talks. Urban Talks, actually, it was a project from Kufa, which started in 2018 with the first edition, and in 2019 with the current edition, which brought together 3 different user groups: the artists and designers, the citizens living in the neighbors where the specific artwork will actually take place, and the local organizations working there. So here we see like some of the different interventions in the public space. Work with this bus where we invited the local citizen and the passengers to just join, talk together with the artist, meet artists, and have this positive exchange. This actually was before the 1 year before the artwork actually took place. While we had this kind of specific conversations, we also analyzed this, and we had a report for each artist and designers, so they could start to work from that kind of report. Maybe Julie, you are here in one of these pictures. What do you remember about this workshop?
So yeah, there was a lot of great exchange. As I said, there were people complaining, but also talking about what was important to them. What I wanted to add to all of that, which has been said, and also to what we said before, to these, you mentioned the haters that are very important. And I mean, when you have participation in a project, when you want, even if you want to develop a product, which is my field, it goes beyond this product itself, because it draws people in. And even if during the process they are not on board with what you're saying, maybe, even if the product itself afterwards, they maybe visually don't like it, or there's something else that they're not okay with, they still kind of like it better. Like, they still feel like they are part of it. And I think that is like a huge thing. So as soon as you open up conversation, you listen to people's opinions, actually that makes all of the difference. And so a product or an installation or an artwork is not just the artwork that people are seeing from the outside, but they feel like they're kind of part of it and they have been heard.
And did you find this this kind of workshop also had some kind of inclusion effect? And how did the output of this workshop actually affected your project, which we are going to show now here? Can you explain a little bit?
Yes, totally. So for me, it totally changed the project. So since I knew that there would be this this talk with the people from the city, I also tried not to have any like idea of the product that I wanted to do. So I actually, on paper, I was asked to do a bike station. So you could just do a bike station. Okay, it needs to be practical. You need to put your bikes there, so it needs to have an ideal height. And I, like the way I usually work is that I want to create, of course, something visually pleasing, but that is more like going into the surroundings, so that is part of what surrounds it. So if it's a furniture piece, it needs to have a character of its own, but it also needs to fit an interior and be kind of like maybe elegant, and I would have little color. And as you see here, there's a lot of color. There's like a big splash of color. So it was funny because then when I was talking to people, what they were saying is, we love how Kufa's urban art brings colors to the city. We love that Esch is different, and people should know that, and people should know that there's things happening here, things being created, people can have like their art spread everywhere, and they were so proud of it. So they were really asking to have more of this. I was very surprised that they wanted color everywhere, and to develop this even more. And a second thing they said, so about this Esch being maybe different, and they really having this identifying with the city, that they wanted kind of like something that stood out and also showed what the city is. So simply put, I took that and I was like, okay, I will do something that is, you could say, totally out of my comfort zone. I will do something very colorful, painted on the floor, but also, of course, then parts coming out. And also go beyond this bike station. So I think so far we have the problem mostly since it's been installed that people are not putting their bikes because they may be scared. But there's children playing on it, as you can see here. There's people taking pictures with it, and so it's really like this strong visual element in the city, and it's on Place du Bril. There are already a lot of visual elements there, but they're mostly white, and then you have green from all the trees, and then you have some metal elements in the middle of the square. So this is really like this splash of color. And then the other thing was also that it's like from every side you can kind of read it or see a different. So it's not like something that you just look at from one point. So it's also, I mean, that's all ideas that just developed while we were talking, and a few hours of talking to people can just set a project.
It's it's really nice to see how actually this helped to create something that maybe is not a huge bike station that serves like 100 bikes, but actually something where the citizen can appropriate and can reflect to because of the charter, colorful charter, and yeah, is it something that that you observed also? What is now the next step for you from this project? What did you learn, and what would you like to do next time from it?
So I will trust that sometimes people like a lot of color. No, I'm kidding. So I guess it was just set up now, and it was super nice to see how people respond to it. And so next step would maybe to see if there could be more of these bike stations. Maybe there would be other cities that also want somewhere that could look completely different, where maybe it's not the name of the city, but I really think that this could be a nice starting point to then develop.
Thank you. Karsi, you also participated in Kufa's urban art, Esch, and if we walk in Rue de l'Alzette, we actually bumped inside on this kind of megaphone installation. Can you tell us a little bit about this? How did it came out?
So from the urban talks, as I told you before, it changes our concept, because it was very nice to know how Esch Citizenship was proud of the city, and their needs were more about how to tell people that Esch is doing things well, and also to have a landmark to speak about what's wrong in the city and what have to be done to make the city better. So this made us thinking about how to translate this symbol of the voice of Esch into this big object, this megaphone, put on a bench that symbolized the speaker corner as in London. So the way that you can stand up and just spread your message about Esch, just from the positive side or from the negative one, but just to create a scene for people to talk, to say how they feel about the city.
And you actually registered some of these voices, which are now present on a website, in this platform. So, for example, if going to eschspeakerscorner.com, you actually can listen to the messages of people living or working in Esch. What did you learn from that? What and why this message is important for the people or for the politicians?
What I've learned from those messages is that, especially with the young generations, they really like Esch because of the cultural movement. So we have the Kufa, we have all the activities related, we have the concerts, we have theater. So this is something that it's more related to this generation. In Luxembourg City, maybe it's more workers in finance, and it's moving in a different direction. So people in Esch here are more attached are more engaged with the city. So when we listen to those messages, they talk about gentrification, they talk about culture, they talk about the industrial heritage, the story. They are very proud of what we have. Actually, now what we are here, it's an old slaughterhouse transformed. So these stories that we were discussing before in the backstage, this was made, I think, thanks to a collective that have fight for this place to be renewed and not to be taken down. So these kind of stories we can listen to in the messages, and for us it was very important to give this platform for people to put more messages and to listen what the other citizens have to say.
It's would you imagine like if you would do the same in another city, or for example in Luxembourg city, the messages would be totally different, and how would you compare your artwork, your art installations from depending on the context? Do you actually would like to show these voices to someone else, to change things, to actually create a debate on some societal issues, some issues that affect a specific city? Did you thought about going to the next step?
I think this kind of installations could be applied to every city, because every city, every citizens need to tell something. They need to be listened. So this is very important. It symbolizes a platform for people to speak, to say something. This is something that in general politicians don't listen to people. So that's what participatory events.
I see it as well as a little bit as a critique. No.
Yeah, actually, because when people talk to us in the urban talks, they said we have complained to the politicians, but they do nothing. So let's spread the message, and this is the platform to do it.
Jan, you mentioned the idea also of changing the city. For example, how this project in the public space actually are working to change the identity of the city, or the feeling of a city. What do you have to add on that and on the project from Kufa Urban Art?
Well, I think it's really going in a good direction. I think I'm a bit. I think, and Fred said that before as well. He wants some more inclusion, even more inclusion in the process. And I think the artist and the designer, I really love your results. But in fact, they are a reaction on what people say. And I see participation really, real participation. I see it that people are more involved. And there are other projects where even the people are also painting or building, and that I think would be an extra asset to identify yourself with the city and its identity. And that I find very important to that people, and you both said it, that it really becomes part of the city, and that makes the city really strong.
What will happen if you would take away this?
You come back to my crazy idea.
Yes.
Okay.
Tell us.
I have a suggestion for the Kufa for the next episode, or the next time that you will do this kind of event. I would start taking everything away that you have done till now, with painting white and taking away part of the structures.
Why?
And as a provocation, I would do it as a marketing. This is a marketing idea, just to make people aware of what they will lose, because they are, and that's an aspect. People are not aware what they gain with this. Yeah, people are. They say, "Oh, it's a nice." They like it, but they are not aware how far it goes. And if you show them that by doing as if you're taking it away, you will have a lot of response. You will have a lot of reactions, and that will amplify your next edition. That was the crazy idea.
But that's maybe going to happen anyway, no? Because, I mean, the city is always being changed, and I think that Rue de l'Alzette, in a few years, if I understand correctly, will be redone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then you will see people standing up, and we don't want the artwork to go away. And these are the haters. These were the haters in the beginning.
Yeah, Liesbeth, you had different experience also on similar projects like this one in the public space. Also, I've been you were mentioning before the conference some project in Brussels, and could you what do you think about this idea of Jan, and would it work?
Yeah, I think it translates a kind of idea that I think is really important and that are present in all the works in a way is, and that you mentioned literally in a sense, that we, as participatory artists, designers, in a way we are creating platforms. Yeah, a platform needs to be open enough for people to give their own infill or voice, or so in that sense painting it white and giving it again as a platform to redo it is in that sense a great idea. And also I liked the speaker's corner because in my experience there are always three kind of core capabilities as a participatory designer artist that you develop. Is one, to give a voice to a diversity of voices, and that is exactly what the speaker's corner does. Then there is this step from, okay, you have all these voices, now how can we reflect together on what we can do together? So which voices maybe can do something, how can we create new types of collectives in society? Because as I said before, we need a better social infrastructure to make our cities livable, democratic, sustainable, and so on. And then a third aspect is to take action together, really indeed start materializing together, to recreate the building together, to bicycle stand together. So these three aspects of visualizing, reflecting, and acting, I think, are always in one way or another present, and you have to give people the opportunity to do that, and therefore you need better public spaces, better platforms. Yeah.
So thank you for this resume, and yeah, I just can add a few words to this section of the talk, because we really understood how it's important to include everybody in the conversation, because this actually is not just for democracy, but is actually can really help to create just the fact to give the possibility to someone to join to create better social infrastructures, and despite also about the final and is possibility think about the designer or the artist left the site. We also like a point because people would like to connect to the next topic about art installation, and this megaphone which actually is there to spark debate, and it's also like a specific way of working of Karsi, and would like to introduce the project Ecclesia in Valencia. For this project was done includes teenagers from social centers, and it's actually based on the mosaic that comes from the heritage of Valencian patterns. Here we noticed as a contrast from the other works, here really the participant helped to build the project. It's something that you build the project. It is also something interesting to see this, to talk about, that you explain a little bit more the concept of this Fire Festival, how this comes, that all these installations, the art installations are built every year, and yeah, maybe some details about the project and what happened after with that.
So to cut a long story short, so Fallas Festival in Valencia, it's a four days festival in March, just to celebrate the end of the winter. It's one of the theories. It's coming. It's a really traditional festival coming from the 19th century, even before. So it started just burning wood elements, and it became bigger and bigger, and building and burning big sculptures, satiric sculptures. So when
Here in Luxembourg, we're still just burning wood.
yeah, actually, it's not very far from Buerbrennen.
Exactly.
So another fire festivals in Europe, but just it became more bigger than the others in terms of size. So there's 400 associations in the city, private associations. They are made by the citizens of the neighborhood. So those associations from 100 or 200 people from the neighborhood, they make like a crowdfunding to find an artist and put a piece on the street. So it's kind of a private project, help with the support of the municipality, but just in a small percentage. And the participatory part of this is because the associations are like a mini democracy, so they decide in a meeting who is going to build their installation, and then the artists they present one or more projects, and they choose. So from the beginning they are involved in the project, and then our approach is different from the traditional one. The traditional one, the association calls an artist, and the artist build the sculpture and they put it on the street, and they don't participate in the construction. But from our side, it was very important for people of the association to be part of the process. We trust more on the process than the result. So involving them into the construction, and involving not only people from the association, but from collectives that they have no possibility to participate in big art projects like children without parents or special education students. They help us to build some parts of the project, which are related also to traditional heritage of the city. The floor of this installation, of this pavilion, is made by the small tiles of wood that show how the mosaic, the ceramic mosaic, are traditional in the region of Valencia. And this makes people part of the project, and they are proud. All those children, they came when the installation was set. They came with their families or with their friends to say, I've done this part of the mosaic. So to see their happiness was one of the best feelings of the project.
It's very interesting because in here we really have the collective taking active part in the making, so they are becoming makers as well, and you see that this is somehow like something that has big tradition. Also before actually we talk about participatory design or social design. So is it something that is actually connected with the tradition or with the culture of the city? Is it like at the end also important to have not just the final art installation, but more about the process of being together?
Actually, I think that the strength of our festival is not the 400 art installations, it's the social network that work through the whole year to build something that is going to burn after 4 days set, just to start again for the year after. This is the strength of the festival. So this is something that is lost in the last 50 years because it became more professional. So at the beginning, those associations built their sculptures themselves. But when it became bigger and bigger, they needed artisans and artists to do as big as possible. So they lose the social part, and we are trying to taking it back to the process. And this is something that it's a small percentage. It's I will say 10 from those 400 are trying to follow this kind of approach.
Great. Is there someone from the other speakers who want to add something about this way of involving also participants in the making of the project, not only to research or the understanding side, but is it that something that you are experienced with that? Yeah.
Yeah, we, for instance, with our students, we always start, so I'm in an architecture department to be clear. We have the tradition since only 6 years or so, also because we encounter this issue of, you need also a more performative way to engage with people, because some people like discussing and verbal exchange, but not all people like that and want to be there in another way. So we start the academic year with a live project. And that means we take one project, for instance, in the North-South project. We invite students in for 2 weeks. They embed themselves in the particular context they are designing with and for. And they start building during 2 weeks without making drawings before, so really building together with the community. And it generates a totally different debate, a more tangible debate. So it really brings about different things. And it has also certainly advantages in, for instance, this context of the bicycle library was also in the frame of such a live project. That in this multicultural context where a lot of the parents didn't speak Dutch in our case then. I had other ways to communicate, and so we reached really different, and children were more engaged and so on. So it's undervalued in participatory processes. In the meantime, participatory agencies know how to bring people around a workshop table and draw maps. But really this building together is something that we're learning again, I think. It's not only in our school that this is re-entering the education, but in multiple contexts. And the importance is also to tap into the really particular traditions of certain communities. For instance, in Belgium, you have the tradition of the carnival, or where they also build the whole wagons, and I don't know how it is in Luxembourg, but every context has its own building tradition. And for instance, in this context, they were all workers in the mines, so they were really, they worked with their hands, and they were very handy, so we got a lot of help. Much more than doing the table thing.
Well, very important to this performative aspect of this of creating something. And actually, is it something that is not? For example, I would like to spark another question. It's not that you start a project without actually being sure about the final outcome, or about the final outcome. And is this maybe could be to lead the designers to think, okay, it's not important that it's perfect. Is that actually something that you feel accepted, for example, Julie? If something like a participant will make something with that and this is not like as you planned it before?
Of course, I think it's really about the context that you design in, because there are projects like these where it's not about making something perfect, it will also burn afterwards, so the experience is much bigger. And then of course you have products where it's just about the product and about the functionality, where maybe participation doesn't make sense. So I think it's really about the context. And I wanted to add something also to what has been said, is that like the biggest enemy, I would say, of these processes is actually time pressure and money budget pressure. So I think that there would be a lot more projects that have more participation, that take more time, where people can actually build stuff, if there was not always this pressure of having something standing there that is already perfect. And I would say that even in Luxembourg, it's always like you're not allowed to fail. I think we talked about it backstage also a bit, that it's always like you just need to be solution driven, to have something tangible at the end and to not fail along the way, because it needs to be efficient and you need to have a final product ready. And I think if we could let go a bit of this, then there would be a lot more projects that would involve people, and also people building things and people just being able to also touch and try out. And I would really hope that that could happen.
Yeah, I want to tap into that, because actually 6 years ago we started then with this whole live building thing. And in the beginning people were really... you're building, and yeah, you're not allowed to build something here, and really scared about what will happen. We also prepared too much. We organized that there was materials and yeah. But then after the first experiment, we saw actually the project that worked very well were the ones where the students started to work together with the community to get materials. So it became really embedded in the material culture also, without any budget even. So that, and yeah, because we did it in many places in the region, other municipalities started to see it, and they were like, yeah, oh yeah, and there it's only, and if it doesn't work, the prototype, yeah, you take it away, some remain, but it's also a culture that needs to grow, and some trust, we can let it go, it's okay. And sometimes indeed break the rules, so you cannot build here, we build here, we just try it, so yeah, but yeah.
I love this breaking the rules, because you also say that when there's problems, when you're actually not well enough prepared, or you're not prepared to do exactly what you were planning to do, that's when you actually try to find solutions, and that's where creativity happens, right?
Is it true, to tap in also again on Julie's statement, that sometimes the makers have seen a cream of time investment in doing something, and this there is not the certainty of return, of financial return. So how do you see that, Jan? Do you also, for example, had some of these projects were very long and not paid, or something like?
I think it's a culture that has to be developed, and this festival is part of that. That breaks rules, goes a little bit further than the real rules, because I know there are a lot of rules and things are not possible, but still they achieved things, and they are a little bit beyond the border, and that pushes everybody further. Now there are other cities doing similar things, and that changes the whole approach to these kinds of art festivals and art installations. And I hope this will also be an example for other developments, that it becomes much more. Rules are necessary, that's for sure. But rules are there also to be changed. Yeah, that's also necessary, that you can adapt rules. So let's be, please, a little bit more flexible with those rules, without being too dangerous for other people. And of course, there are limits. But if we want to be participatory and creative and innovative, we need a little bit more flexibility.
I have a very small funny anecdote also about how, for example, here in Esch, Kufa has brought all these changes with the murals, and then now saying we also want design and functional pieces of furniture in the urban landscape, and how you would think that then the Esch as a commune now knows that this is coming and that they're prepared. And I mean, they saw all the designs and they approved all of them. And then the day that actually the metal pieces of the bike station were delivered, so before we had already a lot of preparation to make sure that they would be screwed in correctly and they had all the info. And then the day that the metal pieces actually came, the two people that had been sent there to fix it, It was totally not their fault, but they arrived there and they had just been told to fix a bike station. So they just thought it would be one of those that they fixed like 100 times in the city, and they were there and they were like, but where is it? We don't see. There's something that has been taken away, now there's color. What is this actually? And where then it took more time to find the solutions with them so they could actually be fixed. And it's so funny because in a way, then now everybody thought that, okay, this has been a process, we've been doing this for 8 years, and they've seen all the plans, everything's prepared, and then it's just like, but what are you doing? We don't understand. This is not a bike station. Yeah, it is.
That is an important issue, is communication. If you do start a project like this, you have to visualize, you have to communicate, you have to be there, that people know what's going on. And now the technical staff inside the structure of the commune was not informed.
All this takes time. So sometimes like time that is not in the budget and something that we as a designer maybe we could think about in advance. So really, in order to don't be unprepared to. Also on the last phase of the project, when actually we leave the workshop, we leave the art, the installation or the art place there, what will happen afterwards? It is important, right, to think about the next. Actually, I have a quote here from O'Neill. The focus is not on the final outcome of the project. The focus is more on what happened when the artist has left the project site. Someone want to react about this?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that we have started to refocus over more than 15 years tools on bringing people together towards tools to allow people to self-organize. And that is because, of course, we experienced it so many times. After a while, a project stops and you cannot invest in it anymore. And as academics, we are still the lucky ones because I can still, via other means, hire a PhD student who does some extra study on it. So we have some more opportunities. But still, you have to think about that. And so designing processes or objects in such a way that they allow for this sustainment and self-sustainment, to have a collective organized around this bike station, for instance, or around the podium, the parlor speakers corner, so that there is a group managing it and taking care, so to take sometimes some snippets out and bring people together around a particular topic, such as the repurposing of heritage and so on. So that is a really, really key thing. And it's also not something you learn in art and design education, and that we still are researching a lot on, what are then the dynamics that you have to set in motion.
Attaching to this education, you just mentioned it. It was at the end of my question, but we just want to say now, participatory approaches are very visible now already from the 60s, 70s. Also, there are a lot of research, but somehow is it at the moment possible to study this approach? How to work with these tools? How if someone from the public would like to study this approach, what should go? What should learn?
Yeah, you have some traditions who are very big in Europe. You have the Scandinavian participatory design tradition. So if you want to study participatory design, actually Scandinavia is the Valhalla. But still, it's in certain fields. There, it comes very much from the IT technology tradition. So it was. It started in the 70s from unions who wanted to start to collaborate with designers to redesign fabrics, not fabric, fabric. Factories. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, factories because they became technological, and so they wanted to involve the workers in designing the technology, so it wouldn't replace them, but that they would become part of it. So they have a very rich tradition in this participatory design. To be honest, our context has it less. We have a more top-down tradition in art and design and architecture. But it's more and more embedded in our studies.
Which studies? Will you make some examples of schools or online studies?
Our school does it, so at the University of Hasselt, but the skills that are learned are very particular. So you teach architecture, you teach design, you teach art, and the skills are not different from what they used to be, but you have to learn to apply them in a different way. And what we do then to allow for that to happen is to create other types of spaces. For instance, I saw that you projected this image of the Andere Markt. It's one of our living labs, so a kind of in-between space. It's a shop front in the city of Genk, also a kind of post-industrial site like this. And the students and the researchers, they learn, they design, and they experiment in this in-between space, which is safe enough to still do some experimentation and learning, but close enough to the community to really bring new relations in, build new relations. So it's not different from before, only you develop the skills in a more relational way.
Create really new spaces, a new kind of living lab where people can meet and experiment, use these tools. It should not be like the traditional way.
No, and not the clean studio where everything is already available, but indeed you have to borrow the hammer from the person across and so on. But indeed with the freedom to also do projects that fail, to build something and then break it down again. So that's also still necessary. If it's all under control then of the city, for instance, it really needs to be this hybrids.
They're really important to really work on in on-site on a specific context. Julie, do you think also the same?
Just thinking that I think is to have like a neutral space and something that is out of the ordinary. So every participant who comes in this space where everybody is the same, not a studio to work or a university where they to work. Just this opportunity to start something.
I would like to go to the next part of the project and the last topic of this evening. So participatory approach on a smaller scale. In this case, we have a case study of Julie. Can you explain a little bit more? What is the this product up there on top right? And which was the process to conceive it?
So as you said, we are going to a much smaller scale. It's really about creating a product. So this is for SOS Kannadorf, Luxembourg, so the children's villages, where they take care of children that either don't have parents anymore or their parents cannot take care of them. So they sometimes even have, like, I don't even know how to say it in English, but parents that, like, not their real parents, but people from this village that kind of foster parents, but I mean they're often in this village then taking care of the kids for as long as they need. And so they approached us. So actually the first part was done together with Jan. So you could say that this project was, it started with kind of workshop, and it was really about creating something for the kids, but with the kids. So they already told us that it might be nice to have a soft toy. Then we said, okay, maybe, but we want to keep it broad. We want to see where it goes. And then we called it a talisman because it's abstract enough, but it still says something. So we had this workshop with the kids. It was in 3 phases. So we had a phase where we just talked to them. We really asked them about what their concerns are, mostly about what they do when they're scared, when they need to be comfortable. how do you say it? Yeah,
Comfortable.
Exactly. They need someone to take care of them, kind of, or what they do when they feel sad. What really helps them. So we had this part where we were talking. Then we had a phase where we were just drawing emotions, and then we had a part where they could actually work with their hands. So it was a bit freer. What we really wanted to get out of this was just to get a feeling for those kids and understand what their needs are, because actually. It was not about creating a soft toy, but creating something that can help them in moments where they don't feel good, or where they're alone, or where maybe nobody's there to help them, or maybe they feel like nobody can help them.
You just you mentioned emotions, so you actually, it was a workshop where you, I guess it's quite difficult to research their emotions. Which kind of tools did you use to really research and find out this emotion from the kids?
So, as I said, we also simply just asked them, because we wanted to also take them, like, give them a possibility to just explain. We wanted to respect that they can also just explain themselves, right? So really to give them this space to talk, because we were listening. We wanted to know that, we wanted to tell them that we are listening. If you're talking, like, adults are really, yeah, they're there to listen to you. Then drawings, because a lot of these kids, so they were between 8 and 12 for the first group, and then 13 to 15, I think. Because a lot of these kids still draw, and then it was kind of a game, because they were all looking around what everybody was drawing, and it was really quick drawings, so to get them a bit out of thinking too much about it. And then at the end, we actually told them, okay, so these first two parts were more open, and then the last one was actually, okay, if we tell you a talisman, something that you can have and that will comfort you, what would it be? So they had this FIMO, so they could actually make something with their hands that they also could take home afterwards. I mean, that's important as well. And so it was not about visually seeing what they were doing. It was really more about getting a sense of what they need. And what is interesting is that in all these 3 steps, what we actually found out is that they said, so we have people that are there for us, but sometimes when we don't feel well, when we are scared, we actually do want to be alone, but we need something that makes us feel like we are not lost. So there was a lot of this image of just hiding yourself inside something and putting your head into something that will make you feel safe.
Yeah, I would like to somehow round up with another, as we have last 10 minutes. We actually today we had different topics, and from the last one, product design, public space, art installations, big, larger city and regional planning. We really dipped into participatory design and look from your different eyes as an expert. Which are your tools that are used? Which are the different phases? How important is to include everybody in the process? Create a possibility to improve this social infrastructure that is somehow missing in many different contexts. So, if you could kind of round up this panel debate, what are in 3 words, let's say, the benefit of participatory approach? So, what actually could say that you, for example, if you want to explain why is important participatory approach to someone who is not yet convinced? Who want to start? In 3 words.
I think I could resume in 1 word. It's inclusion. So everybody is in there. So this is the main point.
Inclusion. And you, Julie?
Yes, to that. And I would say, as I said in the beginning, I think it's going really beyond a product, going beyond something that you can see and just broadening it.
I would say quality of life, improved quality of life, and a big step towards democracy, real democracy.
Liesbeth?
Yeah, I think for me, more and more, the conclusion is that participation is political, and it's really about siding with those who are not heard, not seen. Lately, it has been nature that is overheard and overseen and cannot speak for itself. So we have to take the voice for plants, for animals, so we always have to detect who are at this moment the actors, human or non-human, that are not seen or heard or listened to. And yeah, for me, that's the roundup.
Great. This could be a really interesting workshop to think about how can actually improve not only social infrastructure but also our to create a sustainable infrastructure in this kind of special period. Is someone? Are there some questions from the public?
Hello. Yes. I was waiting for this moment. First of all, thank you all of you for these very good and inspiring talks. And I want to share with you something that happened and which brought us here tonight, to discuss about the functional art. And we started the project in 2014, and a few years after, 3-4 years after, we were doing great. The project was everywhere, good feedback from the press and the media, partners happy, the city was happy, the municipality, our team in here at Kufa. And we said, okay, we're doing great project, right? Since the day someone called the police. And because there's this artist, she needs a beamer projector to trace the lines. So she needs to be dark, wait to be dark, and then trace the line. Turn on the lift platform, a very noisy one. It was a Sunday, so can you imagine? So she called the police, and they said, okay, no worries, we come, you have the permission from the city, right? And we arrived there, the police said, oh no, this is not the good one, because you need a special permit to work in the night. So there is no deal, you need to ask this for the minister for whatever, and it takes 3 months. I said, oh, and the artists were from Brazil. And they said, okay, you have 5 days to fix it, what we can do. And me and my colleague Mael, the production man of the festival, said, okay, let's start to knock the doors and try to discover who called the police. And the first door we knocked, you have the lady who called the police, and she was already complaining, what the fuck are we doing? And I said, oh, sorry for that. And then I explained the project to her. And the days after that, she was bringing coffee and cake to the artists every day. And said, okay, you have a huge problem of communication here. So I started to talk with Giacomo about how we can involve the people and create the urban talks. And the first idea of the urban talks was that we invite the artists have already the sketches validated by the steering group for the city and by us, the project holders. And we invite some local actors, we propose some activities, and discuss with the population. It was great, isn't it, Giacomo? Yeah. Good feedback. But I said, it's not enough. We need to really involve the community in the process. That's what we did in 2020. We have the buzz, we talked about, people are coming. And before getting the buzz there, we're installing these totems everywhere where we're going to make the artistic interventions. And we put there communication in Italian, in Portuguese, in French, in Luxembourgish, and in German, trying to speak the language of the people. Try to invite them to come to the Luxembourgish, invited them to come to the talks. And we have the talks, it really works. The artists get the reports, and then they develop the sketches and the art pieces that we see now in the Esch. For some of these artistic interventions, we involved the community, these vulnerable people from the city. As Liesbeth just mentioned, we have the applicants for international protection, we have these professionals in reintegration, we have some students working with the artists. And I said, okay, great. It's a very, very bottom-up approach, right? And then we discussed with the team, trying to here at Kufa, about the bottom-up approach. And my colleague, one of them, said, okay, we are at the very beginning of the process. And for me, it was like, wow, but we're doing great, isn't it? But we're really involved with people from the beginning now, and maybe it's not enough. So my question after this huge introduction is, what is enough to say you are doing a bottom-up approach where you're really getting people involved to create this feeling of belonging, feeling that they have the power to really change their community, their neighborhood? How much is enough? And are we really doing a bottom-up approach, or is still this top bottom? And people have really the right to change the city. What's our role on that as cultural actors? We need to guide them, lead them, or just offer them a blank page. You have, say, hey, listen, we have 2,000 euros, 200,000 euros from the city. What we do with that? So what would be the perfect bottom-up approach for you? Thank you.
Jan, you
Wow.
want to start?
Big introduction and a big question. I think it's the guidance, it's the balance, and it's always different, as you know as well. Every project is different, and there is no perfect solution to your way of methodology. The methodology, yes, maybe, but not. I cannot answer this with black and white. And I think in your experience, you should also. You should have experienced that in a way. No, Fred? No, sorry, it's okay. Maybe somebody else.
Liesbeth, you discussed also about before policy and the need of the cultural organization to this statement.
Yeah, I think there's two things about it. So indeed, there is no standard approach. Luckily, so it's very relational and very contextual. But there is a way to work in a relational way. That two things that help, and one is to build a very good social infrastructure as an institute. So if you have an ongoing engagement over projects, so not to see participation linked to one project, but to see it linked over projects, because actually your city where you're working remains the same city. Okay, it changes, but there are some people who remain there and some collectives who remain there to create this very strong social infrastructure, and to have someone in your organization that can take care of that continuously, and to have a memory of this social infrastructure. For instance, linked to our Living Lab, we have this web environment. Every person we meet, we document. And we link visually, we have this data visualization thing, we link visually how they interrelate, maybe via an organization, via a project. So we have a memory of over 10 years of certain cities, what kind of social infrastructure is present there. So that's one thing that helped us a lot to deal with a lot of the questions you ask, because they're very common questions. And another thing is, we're designers and artists, and we intervene precisely there where we see, because it's never enough. It's never enough, and we will always not see something or miss something. And that is the challenge of the participatory designer or artist, to then jump in that particular gap that we haven't seen before. So it's two dynamics, I think, that work together. You have this nice term for it, it's like agonistic design. So it's not antagonistic, it's not searching for conflict, but to see indeed where there is still friction or where there is still something missing. So it's not all about happy building social relations, that's part of it, but it's also for seeing where the conflict still is. Yeah.
Great. Basically, there is like a way of categorizing this approach and to see that, to frame it in a way that are successful and you can visualize it and so on. Luigi?
I just wanted to add also that I think it needs to be built up, because you can also not just come somewhere where nothing like this has ever happened and people have never been talked to and have never been able to participate in any way, and then just come with a big project where all of a sudden you ask a lot of people as well to participate. So it needs to be built up, and I think that's something that happened here very nicely, because the urban art has been going on for some time and now there was a new layer added, and I think this is a great basis to then develop more.
Learning by doing, step by step. There is a very different way to create a successful participatory approach. Today we have seen different disciplines explaining their own different approach. Are there other different questions that you think we didn't touch? Last chance for talking. Otherwise, questions from the public. Yes, another question.
Thank you very much for this fantastic discussion. I have a question about authors. And who are the authors of the final product? Because in the participatory process, you are facilitators, but there are many authors. How do you acknowledge? How do you give them a voice or a space, or are they acknowledged at all in the final product? And if so, how do you deal with this multiple authorship in your project?
Multiple
authorship, the authors, like you have many authors.
So maybe I can respond with my experience. So as a product designer, the projects I've worked on, they were maybe participatory, but at the end there were still moments where the designer was actually making it all come together. So yeah, I would say that then there's the designer that still keeps the ownership of the final product, if there is any. But there are other projects where I'm not involved that maybe someone else would like to touch upon.
Well, that depends on how you agree with the collective. You can agree that beforehand, but of course then you have to define how that works. It's not the easiest, but there is also often in these kind of process, and you have to correct me if I'm wrong, is the Creative Commons. I don't know if you know that approach where you if you Google Creative Commons, it's very interesting. It's an open source or a defined way how to share intellectual property in an not participatory, but and you can share it in different ways. And especially in these collective creation process, these are often used. But
open source website.
Yeah, it's partly open source because you can define, you can give it open to the public on the website under the condition that you don't sell or that you don't make money out of it. And as soon as you do that, you need to find another agreement with the author. Yeah, and these kind of regulations there are great examples on that Creative Commons website, which is very interesting.
Liesbeth, also something to add about authorship?
Yeah, there are several strategies we use. So on the one hand, I mentioned the data visualization thing of the social infrastructure. So if we build a project, for instance, at the Bicycle Library is a project. And of course, there were some professional designers involved to turn it into a real nice thing. These designers are mentioned, and in academics, you have this tradition of you have the first author, second author, so, and then it's clear, okay, who had the main hands, and you agree upon that, and then you have, and then you see the cloud of people who, so we visualize that for every project, who were involved. Sometimes it's hundreds of people, sometimes it's 3 people, so that's one thing. So we take care, and that's again this more relational approach, for making that transparent. And so that's important. A second thing, we use the Creative Commons a lot because a lot of the tools that we develop, for instance, I developed in the past a Mapit tool, a participatory mapping tool, and it's used a lot by others. And in the meantime, people have adapted it in hundreds of ways. So we indeed release that in Creative Commons license, and you have different formula in that because we are a public organization. It's unlike Julie, you have to earn money per product that you sell. That's not the case for us. So people can make money out of the tool. You can mention that explicitly. So a lot of architecture agencies use the tool and make their own money. We make money with the services around it. And we have discovered the product on zich is not that you're the author and you're the one selling it. It's less important than people who know that you developed it and you can support them in developing another project. So the work is paid less than the product. So it's a bit of a shift in author economy. And I like the word in Scandinavian design, it's used, the collective designer. We need to grow another type of designer, the collective designer who knows that every work is always done collectively, even if for a long time we have pretended that we do it individually. So that's a bit my reflection on authorship.
Karsi, do you have something to add? For example, how did you mention the more than the 100 participants of your projects in Valencia?
Actually, then, but having a big panel with hundreds of names, so the people can go there, and at the same time they say, we have done that piece of mosaic, our names are there. So
they're happy about it. They really bring their family to show.
They're very proud. It's like the signature are there. So this is nice because finally we work as a collective from the beginning. As Liesbeth was talking, this kind of projects, even art, we believe in a collective art, not an individual one. So we work finally as a chef d'orchestre. So we are as a director, we have all the people that play the instruments that finally are credited in the final art.
Thank you. Are there last question? Or I would say we are going to the drinks. Fred, last word to you, or I say thanks then to everybody, to the speakers for coming today to Esch, to the Kulturfabrik and the other organization to really support this topic and to give space to artists and designers to work also in a participatory way. Today, I also want to. This evening will also be the basis for something that will come after this debate. It's about the creation of a manifesto, of a publication of this conference. In fact, we don't want just to have a conference, but also to create something for afterwards, so that people could still have access and hopefully strengthen the discipline and give some ideas to the practitioners or other artists who want to work with these tools. The manifesto will be on the website of Kufa's Urban Art, Esch, and you will be able to also visit our YouTube channel, the Kulturfabrik's YouTube channel, for watching the video another time. I would like to say thank you also to EasyCast for the video live streaming today, the great support, first live streaming here at the Kulturfabrik. Thank you to all you to come today, and to the viewers on the live streamings. Again, sorry for the little delay because of some car traffic issues. Today is almost 9 7, so we finished a bit late. Again, thank you everybody, and see you next time. Bye bye. Have a good evening.